Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to part 2 of tools you need to start working on cars. So, if you haven't seen the first video, please go back and watch the first video. That will cover the basic tools you should start with and will get you by for the most part. This is kind of moving on to more of the advanced stuff. If you want to upgrade your old tools and what to upgrade to. And yeah, so let's get started. In the first video, I forgot to mention how to store your tools. So I went back in that video and edited the description, and I added in a Husky tool tote. This is what I started with. It's portable. It was easy to throw my basic tools in when I first started going, and it worked really well for me. So this is what I'm going to recommend over like a metal Craftsman box or anything like that. This worked out good for me. Maybe it's not going to work good for you, but that's what I would recommend. Okay, so in the first video, the first thing I recommended was you need to get yourself a master set of sockets, wrenches, ratchets. So starting off, you should have your basic wrench by now. Moving on from your basic wrench, you're going to want to get yourself maybe a set of ratcheting wrenches. These make the job a whole lot easier, and I prefer the reversible ones over the ones you flip up and down. This is a flex head style. I'd probably recommend getting the offset ratcheting ones first over the swivel head ones. Just because I seem to use these a whole lot more than I do these. But maybe, hey, after you get these, get yourself a set of those. If you're doing a lot of brakes and stuff on cars, get yourself a set of line wrenches or flare nut wrenches, whatever you want to call them. But you get a better grip on your fasteners with these. And it just keeps you from stripping out bolts. So moving on, you should have your basic ratchet that came in your mechanics tool set. Maybe you're having a hard time getting into some tight spots and want to upgrade to something. Maybe get yourself a flex head ratchet. This is my go-to ratchet. I use this all the time, but sometimes you can't get right over a bolt or something. You need a little bit of an angle on it. This works great. Maybe you're having a hard time getting your regular ratchet into tight spots. Get yourself a stubby ratchet. Can't really go wrong with a stubby ratchet. I don't use it too often, but when you need it, you need it. Maybe you want to jump into an electric ratchet or a pneumatic ratchet. I would go the electric path. The pneumatic stuff is a lot cheaper, but you're going to need to get yourself an air compressor. You're going to have an air hose dragging behind you all the time. I would just recommend starting out, get yourself electric tools, because you're going to be able to take them with you places. You're not going to have to worry about bringing an air compressor. You're going to also need a pretty big air compressor to run pneumatic tools. So you're going to be spending a lot more money on that. I would not necessarily recommend this exact ratchet. This is the Mac Tools one. It's very underpowered. I have the 3/8 Milwaukee at work, and I prefer that one a lot more. I am going to link in the description the Hercules brand of power tools, because I think that's more of an affordable option to get started than going into the Milwaukee line. But yeah. So moving on from those, the first video, you should have got yourself a set of extensions. I recommend next getting yourself a set of Wobble Plus. So these you can put a, I don't have a 3/8 out here, but you can put a, oh yeah, dude. You can put your socket on here, and it's like a regular extension, but you pop it out a little bit and you can get some wobble to it, and it makes, sometimes that'll make the difference of getting into a tight spot. So get yourself a set of Wobble Plus extensions. Screwdrivers. You should have yourself a set of screwdrivers. If you want to speed up your work a little bit, what I would recommend getting next is yourself a little 1/4" hex impact. I use this thing all the time. This thing's a beast. You're going to need to get yourself a set of impact bits to go with this. I was going to recommend a drill to go along with this, but they sell the impact style drill bits that you can put in here. So I believe for a while you can get away with just having your impact. If you're buying the Milwaukee set, yes, just buy the drill and the impact that come together, so you don't have to later on. But I linked the Hercules 1/4" one in the description, and that one they don't come as a set, so I recommend just getting the impact over the drill as well. For this, you can add, I recommend adding a 3/8 impact socket set, because then you can turn this into, put in your 3/8 little bit there. They're in there. Oops. You can add a socket on the end. So this is what I would recommend to upgrade over a drill. Move some of this stuff out of the way. So moving on from that, I mentioned you should have a set of pliers, basic pliers, in the first video. These will get you by for the most part, the ones I mentioned in the first video, but moving on from these to make your life a little bit easier, I say first get yourself a set of long needle nose. Sometimes you're going to need to reach something that's way down in there. You get yourself a set of needle nose. These are hose pliers. You put them over a hose, you can wiggle them off, and these make your life a lot easier as well. Flush cut pliers, cutting zip ties. Yeah, you can get away with using your basic cutters, but you don't want those tag ends sticking out. Those will cut right into you. I use these. These are probably my most used pliers. For taking those spring hose clamps off, I use these all the time. Electrical connectors. Put this over the electrical connector, push down, you're able to pull them out. They can be hard sometimes. You don't want to be sticking a screwdriver in there, break the clip off. Maybe you need a set of snap ring pliers. Don't use snap ring pliers too often, but when you need them, you need them. There's nothing that can really fill in that void of snap ring pliers. Flashlights, you should have a basic flashlight by now, maybe a little work light. Moving on from this, you're going to want something that's a little bit brighter if you seem to be doing a lot of work on your car. This will get you by for a while, but maybe you want to upgrade to something like this, something like this. These, I would recommend all of these lights right here. These are like my 3 most used lights right here. Maybe you want a neck lamp. So maybe I should stop and take a break for a second here and tell you guys, maybe each person's going to have something that they seem to need more than the other. So maybe one guy is going to be, oh yeah, these lights aren't really cutting it for me. Maybe I need to upgrade to a light. Another guy might, oh yeah, though my light works fine, but I seem to have a hard time getting into tight spots with the ratchet I have. Maybe this is your next move. So it's all going to be determined on you at this point, what you think you need next. I'm just kind of telling you, giving you some options on what to move to next. Picks. Last video I said pick yourself up a set of picks. Upgrading to that. These are like O-ring picks. They don't have sharp ends on them. If you're doing work where you need to get O-rings out, I recommend these. You're not going to stab a hole or rip an O-ring with these. Large pick set. Taking radiator hoses off. Pretty much works for a lot of stuff. If you need to pull something, it's in a tight spot, get yourself a big set of picks. Allen keys. You should have an Allen key set that came with your mechanic set. Maybe you want to upgrade from these. You're doing a lot of work where you're using a lot of hex keys. The ball end hex keys are great to upgrade to. Sometimes you can't get these in a straight line somewhere and you need a little bit of an angle. These ball ends work great. Maybe you want to get yourself a set of hex sockets. These are the wobble ones. They come in the regular style. I don't use them too often. But yeah, if you seem to be using hex keys a lot, get yourself a set of those. Said get yourself an oil filter wrench in the last video. This is a very basic, just universal one. It's great to have if you're working on your friends or family's cars and you're working on a lot of different cars. What I did is I went and picked up these specific ones just for my car. It's a lot easier than trying to mess with this one sometimes. And I prefer these, so maybe you want to upgrade to getting yourself a set that's designated for the size of your filter on your vehicles. Or maybe you just want to stick with this. This does work great. This just makes life a little bit easier. Moving on, you should have a 3/8 breaker bar from the first video. Moving on from this, you should upgrade to your 1/2-inch breaker bar. You should have a 1/2-inch breaker bar next. If you're, I guess this should belong in here. So taking your wheels and stuff off your cars. This is gonna get old after a while doing this with a lug wrench or a breaker bar, whichever one you're using. So I recommend stepping up to a 1/2-inch impact. Again, I'm linking the Hercules one in the description. It's a lot more affordable than this Milwaukee one. Or again, if you have an air compressor already, maybe you want to get a 1/2-inch pneumatic one. Like I said, again, way cheaper, but you're gonna have a hose with you all the time, and it's not very convenient. So I am gonna recommend the electric one over that. So with your 1/2-inch impact, you're gonna need some impact sockets. Get yourself a set of deep impact sockets and a set of shallow 1/2-inch impact sockets. You're probably thinking, well, why if I'm buying this, do I need my 1/2-inch breaker bar still? Because this, you can see how big this is. This is not gonna get into a lot of spots sometimes. You're still gonna need a breaker bar, and that's a lot thinner than this whole thing. So Make sure you get your set of shallow and deep. So these impact sockets are pretty cheap, so there shouldn't be any issue getting those. You're going to want a wobble extension, universal joint. Sometimes you're not going to be able to get this into some tight spots. You're going to want a way to swivel it. Instead of buying a whole set of swivel sockets, get yourself one of these. These will last you for a while, get you by. I'm gonna talk about this, but I don't think it's a necessity right now. This is more for like the third video, if I decide to make a third video. But if you find yourself doing a lot of stuff under the hood or suspension work or whatever, these 3/8 impacts are awesome. But you can get away with just using your 1/4 inch with a 3/8 bit on the end of it and use sockets. This will do a lot of it. This is just more powerful. If you want to upgrade to this in the future, this is something I would recommend upgrading to though. Gloves. In the first video I said you need to get yourself rubber gloves. Rubber gloves are great for doing oil changes and anything with fluids on your car, but if you're not doing anything with fluids, they're kind of a pain. They rip, your hands get sweaty. So get yourself a good pair of mechanics gloves. I like these Milwaukee ones. They still have a lot of feeling in them. You can still fill bolts and stuff with them. So just upgrade to your set of mechanics gloves. Electrical. Maybe you're doing a lot of electrical work and you've been using these, and these work good for a while, but you're going to want to be more efficient, and that's when I would recommend upgrading to a set of heavy duty ones, automatic ones, and some heavy duty crimpers. These make your life so much easier when you're doing a lot of electrical work. You don't have to think about what size wire, you just stick it in here and you can strip it real quick. This makes sure your crimps are very good. You're not worrying about if your connectors are going to come apart. So if you find yourself doing a lot of electrical, maybe you want to upgrade to some of this stuff. Also with electrical, you're going to want to get yourself a heat gun. I got by with just a lighter for a long time, melting heat shrink, but there's no reason not to have a heat gun. This one, I think you can get it on sale for $10 at Harbor Freight. I've had this thing for, I don't know, 5 years, and I've never had an issue with it. I did upgrade to the battery powered one. I would not recommend this Bauer one. Maybe the Hercules one is better. I know the Milwaukee one's better, but this is expensive, and it doesn't work as good as this. It is convenient because you're not pulling around a cord with you, but if you want to upgrade to the battery powered one, if you seem to be doing a lot of electrical and you like the convenience of not having a cord, then yeah, get one, but definitely recommend a corded one. Moving on from that, you should have yourself your basic scanner already. This is great. I keep this in my truck, but sometimes this doesn't really tell you a whole lot. I recommend upgrading to, this is it's called a Blue Driver. It's Bluetooth. It goes right in your OBD2 port. I can connect my iPhone to this, my iPad. This is a lot more convenient. You can see live data with this. It's, I wouldn't say more convenient, actually. This is way more convenient. This just gives you a whole lot more information, more in depth. It will tell you your code and what other people have done to fix that code. It'll give you Amazon links to where to purchase new parts for your car. I think this is a good upgrade from this. like I said, for a DIY mechanic. If you're becoming a regular shop mechanic, do not get this. You want to upgrade to something better. But all this stuff is for a DIY mechanic, like I said again. So from the first video, you should have yourself jumper cables. These are great. You can throw these in your car. You know that they're going to work every time. But sometimes maybe you find yourself you're not places where other people are, and you want to be more reliant on yourself. Get yourself a jumper box. I don't remember last time I've used my cables, but I use this thing all the time. The only thing is every couple months I have to remember to pull it out of my car and plug it in and recharge it, make sure it's charged all the time. But these work great. You don't have to worry about messing up the electrical or accidentally swapping these and burning up somebody's computer on their car or your car. So yeah, I recommend getting one of these jumper boxes. Maybe you find yourself doing a lot of brake work on your cars. You're gonna want a caliper compressor to compress those pads back so you can put the pads in. Maybe you have drum brakes. All my cars have drum brakes. Get your son of these drum brake tools. These work good. They're a lot better than trying to get in there with a pair of pliers. They're a little bit confusing to use at the beginning, but a couple YouTube videos later, you'll have it down. So yeah, guys, this is part 2. Things I recommend upgrading to. If you have any questions, leave them below. At this point, if you have all these tools, get yourself a US General 5-drawer tool cart. That's what I'm going to recommend. And that's what I mostly still use. If you haven't seen that video, check that video out. But if you guys want a part 3, let me know. This is what I thought would be the next step of stuff to get after the part 1 video. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and make sure you comment and like. Thank you. Bye.